Welcome back, everyone. We've got a truly wild weekend at the box office to dive into. Two huge releases went head-to-head, and the numbers are seriously eye-popping. So let's jump right in and see what this tells us about where the movie industry's at right now.
Yeah, it's really interesting, how we had these two major films dropping on the same weekend. It almost felt like an event, like everyone was talking about it.
Absolutely. Wicked, of course, the one everyone's been waiting for. That adaptation of the Broadway smash and Gladiator II, the
Yeah.
sequel to, well, yeah, the historical epic. And those opening weekend numbers, let's just say there's something else.
Wicked landed with wait for it, a staggering $114 million domestically. Not only is that impressive on its own, it's actually the biggest opening ever for a film that's based on a Broadway musical. So, we see those headlines, but let's really dig into why this is such a big deal for musicals in Hollywood.
Yeah, for sure. Especially since the initial projections were around, what, $80 million? Which is already amazing. But to go above and beyond that by, what, over $30 million? You got to think that says something, right?
Yeah.
About the power of this story. And I mean, the Wicked fandom is huge.
There are a few things at play here. First off, you have the source material, Wicked itself. The musical's been a global phenomenon, for years now, capturing audiences with that unique twist on, of course, the classic Wizard of Oz.
And then you can't deny the star power in this film. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, both incredible performers, huge fan bases, both of them. And did you catch that marketing campaign? It felt like it was everywhere.
They nailed it, that's for sure. They managed to tap into, that existing fan base for Wicked while also creating excitement among those who might not have seen. Like the stage production, Hollywood has had I don't know, a bit of a mixed track record with movie musicals, in recent years. Some have been hits, some have struggled to find their footing. Wicked's success is like a really fascinating case study.
Absolutely. I mean, could this be like a sign of a shift? Are audiences craving those big, larger-than-life musical experiences back on the big screen?
It's definitely a question worth thinking about. It does seem like people are looking for those spectacle-driven experiences, and you combine that with a property like Wicked with the top-tier talent they have, and that smart marketing, like we said, well, the potential for success is just massive.
So in the grand scheme of things, like where does Wicked stand in 2024's biggest openings?
It's actually sitting pretty as the third highest domestic opening for the year so far. It's behind Deadpool and Wolverine, which, man, that raked in a massive $211 million. And then there's Inside Out 2 with $151 million. So yeah, looks like superhero flicks and those heartwarming animations are still, real crowd pleasers.
But does this, I don't know, does Wicked hint at a possible musical comeback? What do you think? Are you craving more song and dance on the big screen? All right, now let's move on to Gladiator II. It pulled in a respectable, what was it, $55.5 million domestically, which, while it's not quite as astronomical as Wicked, it's still a pretty solid opening.
True, although it is worth noting that it came in a bit below those initial projections,
Hmm.
which were somewhere in the range of $60 to $80 million.
Do you think, I don't know, maybe the timing with Wicked had anything to do with it? Maybe audiences felt like they could only pick one big spectacle to see that weekend?
Yeah, maybe. It's tough to say for sure, but releasing two big films at the same time, it can sometimes split the audience like that. Especially if they're going for like a similar demographic.
But here's the interesting thing. While Gladiator II might not have hit those domestic expectations, it absolutely killed it overseas.
Oh yeah, for sure. Globally, the film earned a whopping $221 million, which really speaks volumes, I think, about the impact of the original Gladiator, and how much it resonated internationally. I think those historical epics, they tend to do really well overseas. Think about like Ben-Hur,
Right.
or Lawrence of Arabia. Those films, they really captured the imaginations of audiences worldwide.
That makes total sense. And you've got Ridley Scott directing, so yeah, I can see why expectations were high, especially in markets that, you have that fondness for those historical dramas.
Right, and we can't forget about that marketing campaign. Paramount, I mean, they really put in the effort to connect with audiences globally, and clearly it paid off.
This whole thing reminds me of, Barbenheimer last year. It was like Barbie and Oppenheimer
Hmm.
releasing together, created this massive surge at the box office. Both movies just blew past expectations.
Oh, absolutely. That was a real cultural moment, wasn't it? Everyone was talking about these two films that were like completely different. And even though, I mean, their genres were so different, it's like they amplified each other's success somehow.
So are you saying like releasing two big movies on the same weekend, that's like a strategy now? Like it actually helps both films?
It can be, for sure. I mean, it creates all this buzz, gets people talking,
Hmm.
creates that like event-like atmosphere. It's like going to the movies becomes this shared experience again.
And what about the overall box office? I mean, 2024 has been, you know, a bit behind 2023 so far. But this weekend, with, what are they calling it, the Glick effect, it feels like it gave the whole industry a boost.
For sure. I mean, it shows you the power of, I don't know, strategic releases, right? And how important it is to make those must-see events, bring audiences back to
Do
theaters.
you think we're going to see more of this, like, dual release strategy in the future? Are studios going to start, like, scheduling blockbusters like, you know, like some kind of chess match now? What do you think? Is this a trend?
It's possible. I mean, studios are always trying to find ways to, maximize profits. So if it keeps working, yeah, we might see more of these carefully planned release dates for sure.
Well, speaking of the future, the holidays are just around the corner. Thanksgiving and Christmas, they're usually huge for the box office. And this year, I mean, it's looking like no exception.
Especially with Moana 2, right, from Disney. Coming out on Thanksgiving, projections are saying like $100 million over that 5-day weekend.
Wow, that's a big number.
Yeah.
Looks like Disney's animation, I mean, their dominance is here to stay.
Yeah, they have a pretty solid track record. And Moana 2, it has everything you need for a holiday blockbuster, right? Those beloved characters, the music, that heartwarming story. It's what families want to see during the holidays.
All right, so let's do a little recap here, what we've learned from this deep dive into the box office. Wicked soared high, showed us that musicals, they can still pull those massive crowds.
And Gladiator II, while it didn't quite meet those domestic projections, its global success really shows the power of those international markets. People love a good epic story, that's for sure.
And the Glick effect.
Yeah.
It's showing us that maybe a smart release strategy, a little bit of healthy competition, can be a win-win for everyone, the studios and the audiences.
It's fascinating to look at, I don't know, what's shaping the film industry now. What's grabbing everyone's attention?
Here's the million-dollar question. Does Wicked success mean that we're seeing a resurgence of musicals? Or is it just, a one-hit wonder? What do you
Oh.
think? Yeah, it really makes you think, what's next for movies?
Right.
Will we see, like, I don't know, a ton of epic musicals hitting the screens? Or will those superhero movies just keep dominating?
Or maybe, something completely different comes out of left field. That's what I love about this industry. It's always keeping you guessing.
Exactly. Always something new, some surprise around the corner.
And hey, maybe someone listening right now, maybe you'll be the one to create the next big box office hit.
You never know, right? That's why we love, taking these deep dives, exploring all the trends, trying to figure out what gets audiences excited.
Because in the end, it's not just about, those dollar signs. It's about the stories, right? The
Yeah.
ones that stick with you, the characters you connect with, and those shared experiences.
Absolutely. It's about the whole experience.
Yeah.
So keep those conversations going, Debate with your friends. Let your imagination run wild. The future of movies, it's in your hands.
Maybe one day we'll be taking a deep dive into, your box office smash hit.
That's right. Well, that's a wrap for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the world of box office hits. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep enjoying those trips to the theater.